on, girl, let's scream.
I am a god.
No, please don't kill me, Mr. Ghostface. I want to be in the sequel. This is the part where you run.
Come on, scream.
Hello, and welcome to Let's Scream, a podcast where we dive into our favorite horror movies. I'm Parker.
And I'm Stevie.
And today we're looking at 2024's Abby-Gale, directed by Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillett.
Join us as we journey to the mansion of Christophe Lazar and learn all about Abby-Gale.
Girl, are you ready to scream?
Girl, let's scream.
Okay, so we're looking at Abby-Gale. What do you think about this one?
I love the way you say Abby-Gale.
What? How do I say it?
You say Abby-Gale.
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 Right, Abigail.
Abigail.
No, Abby-Gale.
No, Abigail.
I think you're saying it wrong.
No, I knew a lot of people named Abigail.
And then Abigail?
Abigail.
You sound like Abba when you say it.
Abigail.
Maybe this is like a...
You're like Abigail.
Yeah, because it's like Abby-Gale.
Abigail.
Abigail.
There you go.
Abigail. Bitch, I'm going to say Abigail. I don't give a fuck. Okay, that's how I say it.
Oh, God. I'm going to blow my brains out by the end of this podcast.
How did you feel about the movie?
I liked it. It's fun.
Oh, okay.
I think it's a fun one. I didn't know Angus Cloud was in it, so that made me a little sad because R.I.P.
Oh, yeah.
But, so this is one of the last things he did.
I think so.
And this came out after he had passed. But I liked it. I thought it was fun. I never got to see it last year, so this is my first time watching it. But it was one I wanted to see. And I like movies where the little kid's the killer.
Yeah, me too.
It reminded me a lot of Megan.
Yeah, I thought it was really fun too.
But we should do Megan. We need to do Megan because
I can't believe we haven't done Megan.
I liked Megan more. Like if I'm kind of like comparing the two, of like a little girl killer. I preferred Megan. I just felt like this one, my biggest issue was it's kind of a slow burner where it takes nearly half the movie before the first kill and before you get introduced to the monster.
True. Yeah.
So...
But I kind of like it. And you know why I think I am okay with it is because this movie is so short. It's a clean
it's still like
90-minute runtime.
I forget her full name, but Melissa
Barrera.
Melissa Barrera. I really like her in this. I liked her in Scream, but I also like didn't that much because I didn't like her character. And I thought this was a way better character, and she was able to actually... I just think her character in Scream was very poorly written, and she didn't really get a lot to work with.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, I feel like, is a much more fleshed out character, and I think she did much better in this role. Like, I feel like...
I loved her in this.
Yeah, I think she does really good in this. I'm not saying she's bad in Scream, but when Jenna Ortega was in it, like, Jenna just ate everyone up. So, like, she wasn't
so
a standout. And again, it's because I also just don't like her character.
Yeah. What's her name? Sam?
Sam. Girl, I haven't watched them. I haven't watched them since I first saw them. So I'm not going to go back and watch them.
Yeah, but we support Melissa Barrera.
Yeah.
And I think Spyglass fucked her over.
Yeah.
This is created by the people who did Scream 5 and 6, and they also made the movie Ready or Not. They're called Radio Silence. It's like the whole production team, including the writers and the directors.
That makes sense, Ready or Not, because there's something that happened in this movie that reminds me so much of Ready or Not.
Yeah, it might be their signature.
I really like it. I think it's really funny.
And I really liked Scream 5 and 6. Obviously, like, we already made a statement on how we feel about the Scream franchise. At this point, we're not going to be covering it any further because I think that they have some pretty shitty people making those movies right now at Spyglass who don't deserve our
attention,
a promotion of those movies or whatever. But another thing I loved about this movie is the cast.
Yeah, it's a fun cast.
Love this cast. They're all great. We'll go through them as like we get into the movie.
They work really well together.
Yeah.
The whole group. It feels like a good group of misfits come together.
And all the effects look great. Fun story. Yeah, I think they're great.
Yeah. I
think they do a great job every time. And I'm excited this is our first movie that we're covering of them, so I'm ready to get into it. Are you ready to get into it, girl?
Let's get into it, girl.
All right, are you ready to scream?
Come on, girl.
Let's scream. Okay, so we open on a little girl ballerina dancing in front of this empty auditorium, and she's dancing to Swan Lake.
Very Black Swan.
Very Black Swan vibes. Na, 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 na. Meanwhile, outside, a group of 6 criminals are waiting in like big SUVs, planning to kidnap her. She leaves the theater alone and enters a limo where there's a driver.
And there's a tracker on the limo.
And so they follow the girl back to her house, which is this big mansion.
Yep.
And the thugs like mask up and they enter the girl's room. And Melissa Barrera's character, which by the way, none of these characters like have names yet in this story.
Yes.
So I'm just gonna call them, you know, who the actor is for a second. She's shook to learn that their target is a little kid. She's like, she's like talking to Dan Stevens, who's a real hard-ass asshole guy in this. And he's like, you're not backing out of this now. Like, we're doing this.
Yeah. A little too late.
Yeah, exactly. So they continue and they hide in her room. And when the little girl comes in, she's on the phone. And as soon as she ends her call, they attack her and they knock her out with this like syringe.
Yeah.
It's got like some kind of sleeping sedative
something.
or whatever the fuck. And they load her up in the SUV, and then there's this like big chase car sequence as their driver, who's played by Angus Cloud, R.I.P.
R.I.P.
He's very Angus Cloud.
Yeah, he's playing
Fez.
He's playing Fez.
Yeah.
He's playing the role he was born to play.
There's a lot of like rule.
Man, I don't know. I gotta go meet a brew after this, man.
Rule. And he gets away, and they make their way to another castle-like mansion, which I loved this set. This whole castle is such a cool setting for this movie. And I was noticing like little details like in the set design, and all the props were really cool. There's a moment where we go into like the library later.
Yeah.
And all of the set pieces in that library I thought were really well done.
Yeah. It's a really cool place. It reminds me a lot of like the first Resident Evil game because it like takes place in a mansion, and so I'm like, this was like my imagine. Like I'm like, oh, they do like try to, because they are trying to remake those, but I don't know what direction they're gonna go. But like,
I heard about that.
If they tried to do it this way, I'm like, I think it would work really well.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
This kind of setup of like this type of mansion.
Ooh, I would love to see Radio Silence's take on a Resident Evil type
I
thing.
forget who's doing it. And it's somebody who's directed something recently, and I can't remember what it is. But it's another horror. The person who did Barbarian.
Oh,
They're wanting him to.
He would eat at a Resident Evil. Yeah.
Yeah. If they actually go like actual horror.
Yeah. They meet up with their ringleader, Lambert, who explains the next steps in the plan. They're going to stay there and be on the lookout for 24 hours while he goes and makes the ransom deal with the girl's father, who is apparently a very powerful and rich man. If they do as they're told, they will receive an equal share of the $50 million ransom. So he takes all their cell phones to avoid them being tracked, and he gives them all aliases. Melissa Barrera, her job is she's the only one who's allowed to communicate with the little girl. Her alias is Joey. And Dan Stevens, he is kind of like the boss of the operation. He is Frank. Then Catherine Newton is in this movie. She plays Sammy. I love her. She's been in so many horror movies. I'm sure we'll probably cover the Paranormal Activity she's in at some point. I think she's in like 4.
Gotcha.
And she was in Lisa Frankenstein. She plays Lisa Frankenstein.
Okay.
She's in what else?
She's
in Freaky, which was also really good.
You didn't like Lisa Frankenstein, did you?
I did not like Lisa Frankenstein.
I haven't seen that.
I wanted to like it a lot because I love Diablo Cody. I love Catherine Newton.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll cover it down the road if people want us to.
I need to watch it.
Yeah.
I'm getting an opinion.
I still like Catherine Newton a lot, and I love her in this movie. She's this kind of like punk girl. She's like a teenage
Dirtbag.
dirtbag. I noticed there's one scene where she turns her head and she's got a blue streak in her hair. She's got some blue going on. I don't know. I like a little edge and a pop in my hair.
Especially when I'm kidnapping children.
When I'm kidnapping children at the Teen Vogue party.
Got some blue going on.
Where's that inspiration coming from?
I don't know. I like a little edge and a little pop in my hair, so I wanted to add something different, especially for the Teen Vogue party.
Angus Cloud, Shiru, the driver. He's Dean. And then we have Kevin Durant. He's the enforcer, the muscle. He is Peter. And then Will Catlett plays the sniper. And he is named Rickles after Don Rickles. So with 24 hours to kill, they decide to post up in the bar.
Yes, because it's fully stocked.
Fully stocked. They're getting drunk. They're playing pool and just kind of getting to know each other, but not too well because, they have to keep a low profile on this job.
Yeah.
And since Joey is the cool girl, she challenges Dean that she can read everyone in the room better than he can. And so she starts going down the line and clocking all their backstories.
Yes.
And she's just cool.
Yeah, she clocks them all.
Yeah, she's right about everyone.
Dean is this is his first time.
He's an amateur.
He's an amateur. Sammy's a rich girl looking for thrill.
The thrill.
The muscle dude only got the muscles because he was bullied so much.
But then Frank clocks her as being a junkie since she has a habit of sucking on dum-dum suckers, which, oh my god. This made me want a dum-dum sucker.
You remember going to the bank with your parents?
Oh, boy,
and the teller would give you a dum-dum.
A fucking dum-dum.
I love when they ask what flavor. I would always go for grape.
Grape.
Grape or orange. If they didn't have grape, I would say orange.
Not me.
I didn't ask.
Okay, so it's going to be that kind of podcast today, I see.
Now, Parker, which flavor dum-dum did you ask for?
Cherry.
Oh. Okay.
What was that?
Well, the problem with cherry is it tastes like medicine.
I love it. Well, yes. Okay, anyway, she is sucking on Dum Dum, so he clocks her as a junkie, and she gets triggered, and she goes to check on the girl, who they have blindfolded in this bedroom. The girl is, crying, and she's like, my blindfold is really tight.
What's going on?
Oh. And Joey's really sympathetic to the little girl, and she takes off the blindfold, and she loosens her handcuffs, and she, comforts her, and she even pinky promises that she won't let anyone hurt her. We learn that her name is Abby-Gale.
Abby-Gale.
No, Abby-Gale.
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 Stevie,
Oh my god.
let me ask you something.
Yeah.
What does a cow make?
Anyways, it's Abigail.
No, answer the question. What
They
what
make CO2 emissions. They harm CO2 emissions because they fart. That's what they make.
what comes out of their udder? How do you say it, Stevie?
Milk.
You said it right. Wait. That's not how you normally would say it. How do you normally say it, Stevie? Tell the audience.
Milk.
No, Stevie
Milk.
says milk.
Milk.
Stevie says milk, and it drives me crazy. What else do you... Oh, you say... Oh, what are those things you draw with in kindergarten? The color stick things that you draw with?
Oh my god, can we continue the podcast?
No, I want
Crayons.
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 They're called crayons.
Crayons.
They're not called crayons.
Crayons.
So, my point exactly. Abby-Gale.
Abigail.
Abby-Gale is her name. that's the point I was trying to make.
No, it's
That's
not.
all. According to her dad doesn't give a shit about her, and he won't pay the ransom. And Joey confides that she has a little boy herself who they call Justin. And so, Abigail and Melissa Barrera's character form this, connection.
Yes.
Before she goes, however, Abigail says, Joey, I'm sorry about what's going to happen to you. And I'm like, okay, freak. Why would she say it like that? Joey gets really freaked out and she leaves without putting the blindfold back on the girl. So when Frank goes in without a mask, he freaks out because Abigail could have seen him. She insists that she didn't see him. And when he asks, she tells him who her father is, Christophe Lazar.
He also, while he's doing that, asks her what color his eyes is, and she's like, I didn't see.
Yeah, and he has glasses on, so, like, how would she have even seen that?
It's like, blue?
Oh, I don't
What's she
know.
gonna say? Like, what kind of fucking question is that? What colors are... I didn't see your fucking eyes, you fucking weirdo.
And he's, like, super aggro. His character's so annoying.
Yeah, I
this,
didn't like this
Frank
character
guy.
at all.
But Dan Stevens is really good, and he's so cute, too.
No, like, he does a great job, like, with the character. His character's unlikable, and he's supposed to be.
Yeah, he's a good, like, villain, for sure. And he, like, freaks the fuck out, and he wants to leave. So apparently, Christophe Lazar is this super powerful, super famous, like, mob
Boss
or something in this universe. And so they're, like, super fucked, apparently. And he tells everyone that they should be more diligent and split up and, like, stake out the house to be on extra alert. Because, like, their goose is cooked, pretty much. So Joey goes into this library, which is my favorite set of this movie. It reminds me of Beauty and the Beast. Like, well, it's yours, Belle. Here. Like, this, you can have my library kind of thing. And there's also this old-timey statue of a man with his daughter.
Yep.
From, I don't know what era kind of shit. But
old.
It's creepy and old. And she is talking to Don Rickles, and they have each other's backs.
Yes.
And do you think they're kind of like flirting too? Or,
A little bit.
Yeah.
Ish.
I don't know. She kind of seemed like she was into it.
She was into it. I get it. He's cute.
And Sammy gets jump scared by Dean with a mask on, trying to hit on her.
Yeah.
That was a big jump scare.
Yeah. She's like, get the fuck out.
Yeah, she kicks his ass out.
If you're a pervert, get off my live chat right now.
Right now. Get out of my room right now.
Good. This is for bad bitches, for Rexars, and the
true
BB
Rexa stands. Exactly.
So if you're a pervert, get out.
Then get out.
So if you're a pervert, get the fuck off my live chat right now. Right now. Yeah, all you motherfuckers. This is for the Rexars, the bad bitches, and the true BB Rexa fans. So get the fuck off my chat. Good. 1,000 people gone. Only 8,000. Get the fuck off my chat. Perverts.
And Dean is a pervert. He's like, oh shit, Rue, sorry.
I'm sorry.
Let me get out of
Get
here.
out of here.
Then he goes and draws on Peter's face, who's like passed out, and he like draws a dick on his face. Haha.
Gotcha.
And he goes into the basement, and there's like this weird kitchen in the basement.
Yeah.
And the door opens by itself. And then he is attacked and pulled off screen. And he's like, shit, Rue.
He's like, help me, Rue. Rue, help me. Shit, Rue.
Shit, Rue, I'm getting eaten, Rue.
And then Sammy hears him like screaming.
Yeah. And she goes downstairs, and he's like sitting there, and she's like, hey, Dean. And she like taps him on the shoulder. His head rolls off. Yeah.
And then she starts screaming, and is it Peter hears, and he comes down. And he's like, what happened? And she's like, his head fell off.
Yeah. And then she goes, why do you have a dick on your face, though? I thought that they do a good job at, like, the comedy writing in their horror movies, and I thought that was...
Especially that his head came off.
It was so funny.
His head fell off.
Yeah. And then they get everyone together, and they speculate that it was Christophe Lazar's legendary hitman, Valdez. Some guy named Valdez, who is known for decapitation. Which reminded me of the guy on Austin Powers who throws his shoe, chops people's heads off.
Yes.
Like, who throws a shoe? And Rickles is like, I'm out. And he tries to peace out, but they realize that they're trapped in the house.
The whole place is locked up.
Yeah, it's got like bars that like come up and cover the windows and
big
shit.
security system.
And Joey visits Abigail. And Abigail tells her that Frank told her that he was Valdez. So now Joey thinks that Frank is working for Lazar.
Yeah.
And she goes and tells Rickles. And then 2 seconds later, Rickles turns up with his neck all fucked up and bitten and shit.
Yeah.
And he just dies.
Very unceremoniously.
Yeah.
He's gonna find. I thought he was gonna be around so much longer, and then he's just kind of gone.
I thought he was going to be like the male lead, to be quite honest.
Sad.
Yeah, I know. I was like, well, damn.
I think that was maybe one of my other problems with the movie is like I felt like he was gonna be around longer. And I think his character could have added a lot more to this movie.
I thought so too. But I don't know. Yeah, they killed him off. Diva down for sure.
Yeah.
And so she's freaking out and she goes to confront Frank and she has the gun and she's trying to expose him in front of everyone for being Valdez.
Yeah.
So he wants to go and have Peter use force to like torture Abigail and get her to, admit that she was lying kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they have this big showdown where they're like in Abigail's room and they're pointing their guns at each other. And then Sammy, while this is all happening, looks over and she notices that Abigail is able to slip perfectly out of her handcuffs. And then she like gets up on the bed and goes full vampire. And she grows teeth and she's got like the demon eyes. Yeah. And she growls at them.
It's a very fun design.
Very fun design. I like these teeth.
Very like
all
fucked up,
jagged,
and
and yeah, and all practical.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, all very good. And this little girl,
she sells
does such a fucking good job.
She's so good.
Oh my god, she's rumored to be Dorothy in Wicked 2 because there's lots of speculation on Twitter. Like people found pictures of her at the premiere of Wicked 1 and like kind of dressed in a very Dorothy way. And yeah, it could be her. I could see that.
Yeah,
for sure. She's at like a good age.
I wonder if Dorothy's in, because Dorothy's not a big part of the story.
I hope we don't see her too much because I want it to just be like Elphaba's story.
Yeah.
Anyway, we don't need to get into Wicked right now. But
yeah.
Yeah, I think she's a good little actress and she really sells it. It reminded me of Kristen Dunst's performance in Interview with a Vampire as the little girl vampire.
Yes.
Who was just vicious like this.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll do that movie at some point, but Kirsten Dunst is so good in that movie.
She's in every movie.
She's so good. So yeah, Abigail's a vampire and they shoot her in the head and she immediately comes back to life.
Yeah.
And Sammy goes, oh my god, we kidnapped a vampire. A ballerina vampire. And they hide from her in the library and they come up with the plan to kill her. And they're debating.
They're going through all the classics. Like, okay, well, she can't see her reflection.
Yeah.
As if that's okay.
They're like, oh, is she like Anne Rice or is she Twilight? Like, they're like, what vampire is she?
Yeah, True Blood.
True Blood, yeah. All
Vampire Diaries, Twilight, different types of vampires.
And Sammy goes and she gets what she thinks is garlic. And he goes, Sammy, those are fucking onions. She's like, oh, I didn't know. And then so they arm themselves with stakes. They have different, they have the wooden stakes, they have some metal stakes.
Peter has a cross necklace.
Yeah, a cross. Necklace. And they enter Abigail's room, but she's gone. And they hear Swan Lake playing upstairs. And so they go up and they're in this theater room, little...
Because of course.
And she is in her Swan Lake ballerina ensemble and she's dancing with Dean's headless body. And this was really fun.
Yeah.
This is such a good sequence. They all try to kill her, but she's not affected by any of this shit.
She stabs, what's his name?
Peter.
With his cross, like a pincushion.
Yeah.
And then she stabs the other guy with his stake, right in the leg.
In the leg. And the whole time while she's doing it, she's moving dancerly along to the music of Swan Lake. It's great. And she basically kicks all of these adults' asses.
Yeah.
And they have to retreat. And Joey nurses their wounds, and we kind of get the inclination that she's some kind of nurse or she works in the medical field. And they decide to split up again, try and find Abigail because she comes up with this idea. Oh,
we can sedate her, and they think it was an act. They're like, we don't think she even got knocked out.
Was she even affected by the sedation? And she's like, no, I'm a nurse. And
I checked her pulse and her breathing. She was out.
She was out, right? So they're going to try and sedate her again. But Sammy trips and she falls into this underground pool full of bodies.
Oh,
that was gnarly. I loved this set piece. I thought that was so freaky. And they're all decomposed and rotting.
And then Peter runs into her.
Yes, and Abigail's chasing Peter and Frank around, and she keeps doing dance moves.
She jumps. It reminded me a lot of Dead by Daylight, because he ran all the way down the stairs and then she just jumps over the ledge and lands at the bottom. That's what it's like with Dead by Daylight.
Yes, it was very fun. It was kind of like a video game, this whole thing. And she's also doing a tightrope walk across the banister, all gracefully while she's doing it. And amidst the chaos, Sammy tries to get Abby-Gale off of Peter.
And she bites
Sammy. And Joey manages to knock her out with the injection. And as she's passing out, she gets really savage and she's like, I'll rip your fucking heads off and I'll gorge myself on your blood. It was very Reagan from The Exorcist vibes.
Yeah.
And so they lock Abby-Gale in this big cage. Well, I don't know why there's a cage in this.
Yeah, they just happen to have it.
They just have this person-sized cage. And when she wakes up, she drops the little girl act at this point. And they're like, well, you're really good at playing the little girl. And she's like, I've had centuries of practice. And she's going through and she's revealing to them that she was actually the one who set this all up.
Yeah.
And Lambert actually works for her. And she's clocking all of them for having fucked over her father's business in one way or another.
So they're an enemy to her father.
Exactly.
She's trying to get her father's attention.
Mm-hmm. By
killing
all of his enemies. And they ask her, well, why go through all of this? Why not just kill us? And she goes, well, what can I say? I like to play with my food. I thought that was funny.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And
Sammy asks, she's like, am I going to turn into a vampire? What's going to happen? She goes, maybe.
Yeah, she's a creepy little kid, yeah.
Sammy freaks out.
Alicia Weir is her name. This is where I wrote it in my notes, but her name is Alicia Weir, and she's great. She has to deliver all this dialogue and sound like this, highly educated vampire.
Yeah.
And she slays it.
Yeah.
She eats it up. We also learned that Joey's real name is Ana Cruz, which I thought was fun because Cruz in Spanish is cross. So, cross kills a vampire in, lore. So I thought that was a fun little nod. And she's an ex-military nurse, and she's a recovering morphine addict who just lost custody of her son. And then she became this black market doctor. And as a result of being too high during an operation, she botched this surgery, which resulted in one of Lazar's men dying. So she's on Lazar's shit list big time. And then Abby-Gale offers to spare the life of the person who
opens the cage for her.
Cage.
Well, she says she'll save 2 of them. And then they take too long to decide if they want to do it. So then she says, okay, my offer's changed. It's one of you now.
Yeah,
the fucking cage.
You're taking too long.
But they're all like, no, this is a lie. And Peter's like, well, maybe it's worth the chance.
He tries to go for it, yeah.
So,
Joey
shoots him.
She's not playing.
She nicks him. She's like, I'm not fucking around. Drop the gun.
Mm-hmm. And so Frank is left alone with Abby-Gale to watch her. And she tells Frank about a secret passage in the library. She says there's a book in it, and then there were none by Agatha Christie, which I thought was perfect because this whole setup story is giving very Agatha Christie vibes.
Yep.
Yeah. And if you
great book, if you've never read it.
Book, and if you pull the book off the shelf, it's very Scooby-Doo vibes. It'll open
a door,
a passageway. She tells him about that in a promise that it will lead to an escape if he promises to let her out of the cage. And he doesn't let her out. He doesn't take up his end of the deal. And he's taunting her. And then she just busts out of the cage.
Yeah.
She could have escaped at any point.
The whole time.
Because she has super strength. And Joey pries off the wood boards that are covering the windows and lets the sunlight stream in. And it causes Abigail's hand to explode.
I'm like, at that point, why did they just kick her into the light?
Yeah, I don't know. But she's like, starts screaming, and her arm...
It grows back!
Starts to kind of grow back. It's like very slowly reforming. I loved this take on vampires of... when the sunlight hits them, they don't like disintegrate into ash. They like blow up in this like bloody burst. This is, I think, what you were referring to earlier as very Ready or Not.
Yes.
The body's just blowing up.
Explosion. Like, that's how you die. You just explode.
You just blow up and your blood splatters everywhere. And this movie is so bloody. I love a movie like a Carrie, or like we saw in The Substance as well.
It's just a shit ton of blood.
Where it's just a bloody massacre. So fun. And so Abigail has to let her arm reform, so she retreats. And they go to the library to look for the secret passage, but there is none. That book didn't work.
Of course not.
She lied. So they're waiting under the sunlight that's streaming in from the high windows, and they prepare for her to show up again. And Sammy actually comes up with a plan to split up and find the power source so they can shut it down and escape.
Yep.
So Peter and Sammy are looking in the basement, and suddenly Sammy starts to hear Abigail's voice being like, Sammy, come to me. And it's very Dracula. I loved this.
Yeah.
Because then Sammy starts to become mind-controlled and possessed by Abby-Gale, and she transforms into a vampire. She's not like a fully formed vampire, they explain. She's like a puppet, basically, of Abby-Gale, and will do whatever she says.
Yeah.
So Abby-Gale makes her attack Peter, and she bites into his neck and, like, rips off his flesh. Yeah. And then she drains some of his blood. So we see this montage. This is such a funny scene where Abigail's in the theater room upstairs, and she's dancing, and then Sammy is, like, doing the same choreography because she's mind-controlled. Yeah. It was great. And Sammy attacks Joey and Frank, but Joey reflects the sunlight of a silver tray onto Sammy, and she explodes.
Just fully explodes.
Damn, diva down, diva down. So Joey and Sammy discover this control room with all these monitors and cameras that were spying on them earlier. And Lambert's in there.
Yeah.
And he reveals that he's also a vampire. He's got fangs.
Yeah.
And he is choking out Joey. And the whole time he's making a deal with Frank. He's going to make Frank into a vampire so that he will help Lambert kill Abby-Gale in an effort to take over Christophe Lazar's whole operation.
Yes. It's a ploy.
It's a ploy. He transforms Frank. And I loved this part of the lore of a vampire. It was like a fun take. Because, you know, normally the whole thing is you get bit by a vampire and the vampire feeds you their blood and then you turn to a vampire. Mm-hmm. But in this, it was like, not only did you have to do that, but you also have to puke out all of the human blood that's in your body and like kind of purge it out. Yeah. And so Dan Stevens has to like puke out this whole river of blood. It was super gnarly. Yeah. I loved it. And so now Frank has become a vampire. And instead of attacking Joey, he stakes Lambert through the heart, who explodes. So he like betrayed him. Yeah. So now we just got this evil vampire version of Frank running around. Yeah. He goes to attack Joey. And Dan Stevens, again, we mentioned it before, but he's so good at playing a villain. He's such a good asshole. And Abby-Gale shows up, and Frank overpowers Abby-Gale and drains her blood, knocking her out. And he goes, I fucking hate ballet. During this, Joey is able to disable the security system and grab her phone from Lambert's desk, which she uses to call her son. And this kills me, okay? Her son has the fake out voicemail where he goes, hello? And she's like, hey, baby, I just want to... You've reached the message of...
Oh, just kidding. Gotcha.
I thought that was so fucked up.
She's like...
In this scenario, her face. She's like, are you fucking kidding me? I don't even think this meant to be funny, but it was so funny the way that it was.
Yeah.
Like, not the fake out voicemail. Oh my
Miss
God.
Jackson.
Miss Jackson. She has the Miss Jackson face.
She's like,
she's like gagged by the audacity that he had to leave that. But she leaves him.
Meanwhile, she could die at any second.
Right, and so she leaves him this like really heartfelt voicemail.
I'm like, sorry, I wasn't there.
Mm-hmm. Good acting from Melissa Barrera. She ate this up. And then Frank comes in and attacks her, and they have this big library showdown, and he throws her over the balcony, but then Abigail shows up and saves her.
Yeah.
And they work together to try and overpower Frank. But he stabs Joey with a metal stake in the shoulder.
Ow.
Great anguish from Melissa Barrera.
Yeah.
She really was acting with her whole
Yes.
pussy there.
Yes.
Love her. And then he goes and he drains more blood from Abigail, so she's weakened. He bites Joey and is going to try and turn her into his puppet vampire. But it doesn't work.
But she plays along.
She plays it along like it did. So then they're able to overpower him. And they get
together. They stab him and he blows up.
And he blows up. And right before he dies, Abigail says, one thing about being a vampire, Frank, it takes a long fucking time to learn to do all the cool shit. And then, like, stabs him. It was funny. So Abigail thanks Joey for helping her. They've developed this, like, unlikely friendship.
Yeah.
I thought this was funny.
Yeah.
And Abigail says she won't turn into a vampire at this point. Because Frank had bitten Joey earlier. So she was like, oh no, am I going to turn into a vampire? Abigail's like, no, because you killed Frank.
Yeah.
So you're good now. You won't turn. She even says, I hope you get your son back. You know, for what it's worth. You just have to show up. Be present for your child.
Yeah.
And so she's getting, like, wisdom from this little girl.
Yeah.
But, like, it makes sense because, like...
That's the little girl's experience. She's like, I don't get that from my father, so maybe you can do better.
And she's also, you know, a wise old vampire.
Yeah.
So it works in both regards. And I thought that was really cute. So she's covered in blood. And she goes to leave. But then Christoph Lazar shows up.
Just all of a sudden.
And he's giving very Transylvanian.
Yeah, like, how dare you?
I'm Dracula.
I'm going to kill you, Joey.
1, 2, 3,
4 dead bodies.
I just realized, is this the first vampire movie we've ever done on Let's Scream?
Yes.
Oh, that's funny.
We didn't do one for Halloween.
No, we didn't.
We've got a lot coming this year, though.
Oh, we've got a lot coming this year. Our March plan. Y'all are not fucking ready. Okay. So he's going to kill Joey because he's, you know, a scary vampire. But Abigail pleads for him to spare her. And so Lazar has a change of heart, seeing how he has hurt Abigail by neglecting her. And he lets Joey go. And so she stumbles out of the mansion. And she drives away, and she's happy to find the dum-dum sucker in her pocket that she had saved for later.
Oh, yeah.
And the end.
She drives away.
Mm-hmm. Fun
movie.
Cute, very cute.
It's a cute picture.
It's a cute picture. I had a lot of fun with it. And it was fun to do a vampire film.
Yeah. Many more. Maybe in the future.
Many more will come.
We hope you had a fun time with us at the mansion of Christoph Lazar. Learning all about Abigail.
Please remember to follow the pod. Abby-Gale. Please remember to follow the pod, like the pod, and leave a glowing review of the pod, of course. And you can also, we are at Let's Scream Pod on all the socials. You can also send us movie requests for future episodes. You can follow me at Parker_Will_C on Instagram.
And you can follow me at Stevie Nash 95 on Instagram.
And until next time, this has been
Let's Scream.
Bye.